My cousin has always been the family's master manipulator, pulling off the impossible by crying on cue. She's a professional victim, and for most of my life, I was her favorite person to blame. But after she told a devastating lie about me to my sick aunt, a lie that was crueler than any before I knew something had to change, I was done being the villain in her story. She walked into that family dinner thinking her tears would save her like they always did. What she didn't know was that I came with a screenshot of her own words, and I was about to get my revenge in front of everyone. The best part wasn't just exposing the lie, it was watching her face when she finally realized she'd run out of them. In every family, there are stories that get told so often they become facts. In my family, the story was this: my cousin, let's call her Jenna, was the fragile, sensitive one, and I was difficult. This wasn't some accident. It was a reality Jenna built herself, brick by brick, and I spent most of my life breathing that toxic air. Ever since we were kids, Jenna could weaponize her emotions like a pro. I remember one Christmas I was about 10 and she was 9. My grandpa gave me this intricate model spaceship I was obsessed with. I spent the whole morning putting it together. Jenna asked to see it, and like a proud kid, I held it out. Her fingers barely touched it before she accidentally knocked it out of my hands. It shattered on the floor. Before I could even react, the waterworks started. Huge, heaving sobs and cries of, "I'm so clumsy, I ruined it." My parents, my aunt, my uncle, they all ran over. Not to me, the kid whose favorite toy just exploded, but to her. They wrapped her in hugs, telling her it was okay, it was just an accident. When I finally found my voice and choked out, "She did it on purpose," the room went cold. Suddenly, I was the bad guy. "How could you say that? Can't you see how upset she is?" Her mom, my aunt, scolded me. I was forced to apologize to her for making her feel bad. I spent the rest of Christmas in my room, not because I was grounded, but because I couldn't stand the sight of her on the couch, sniffling while everyone praised how sweet she was. She didn't look guilty. She looked satisfied. That became the blueprint for the next 20 years. Jenna would break a rule, say something awful, or just cause trouble. And the second she was about to face consequences, the tears started. It was her get out of jail free card, and it never expired. She mastered the art of what I now know is called triangulation. She'd never confront me. Instead, she'd run to someone else, usually her mom, with some twisted version of the story where she was the wounded party. My aunt, programmed to see Jenna as a perpetual victim, would then come at me, furious on her daughter's behalf. I was always defending myself against things I never even did, fighting battles I didn't know had started. As we got older, the stakes got higher than broken toys. It was about reputations and family trust. She once told our grandparents I thought their values were outdated and ridiculous after a private chat where I just mentioned wanting to spend one holiday with my partner's family. The fallout was a month of cold shoulders until I finally convinced them it wasn't true. When I confronted Jenna, she just batted her eyelashes. "Oh my God, is that what they thought? I was just trying to say how modern you are. I must have said it wrong. I'm so sorry." It was classic gaslighting. She'd light a forest fire and then play the innocent bystander holding the matches. This whole dynamic made me the strong one, which was really just code for the person who could take the blame. Jenna was the sensitive one, which meant she was never held responsible for anything. Everyone else just went along with it, because it was easier than dealing with Jenna's meltdowns and my aunt's rage. So I became the family scapegoat, and for years I put up with it. But you can only swallow so much poison before you choke. The moment that finally broke me started with my aunt. She'd recently gotten a tough health diagnosis, and the whole family was worried. We were all pitching in, trying to help. During all this, I had a rare one-on-one call with Jenna. For a minute, it actually felt like we were adults. I told her I was worried about my aunt. I said, "She's so stubborn, she never asks for help. I wish she'd let us hire a part-time caregiver just for a few weeks to take some pressure off." It came from a place of love. I just wanted her to have professional support. Jenna seemed to get it. "I know," she sighed. "She thinks accepting help is a weakness." The call ended, and I hung up feeling a tiny bit of hope. Maybe we were finally past the games. I was an idiot. 2 days later, my aunt called me, her voice trembling with rage and hurt. "I can't believe you," she sobbed. "After everything that you would think so little of me." I was completely lost. "What are you talking about?" "Jenna told me," she said, and my stomach dropped. She didn't want to. She was so upset she could barely speak, but she felt I had to know. "She said you've been telling people I'm incompetent, that you want to put me in a home." The words were so monstrous, so far from what ID said, I was speechless. "A home?" I suggested a part-time nurse for a few weeks, and Jenna twisted it into this. She had taken my concern and turned it into a knife. "That is not what I said," I finally fired back. "Auntie, I swear to you, she is completely twisting my words." But it was no use. The damage was done. "Why would she lie, David?" my aunt cried. "She was in tears telling me how you were trying to take over my life. You're calling your cousin who loves me a liar?" She hung up on me. I just stared at my phone, my hands shaking. This wasn't about a toy or a holiday. This was a direct hit on my character, using my aunt's vulnerable health as the weapon. Jenna had painted me as some cold monster who wanted to lock up his aunt, and herself as the hero who had to break the terrible news. It was a perfect piece of manipulation, and I was completely trapped. That S when I felt a new kind of anger. It was cold and quiet, and burned away years of just letting it go for the sake of peace. She had used our aunt's illness. She had used our private conversation. She crossed a line. For years, I played the part they gave me. I was the bigger person. But peace isn't just about avoiding conflict. Sometimes it's about justice. And in that moment, I knew I was done playing her game. For the next few days, I was miserable. I sent my aunt a long text explaining everything, but it was left on read. I tried calling, but she wouldn't answer. I was basically excommunicated, convicted of a crime I didn't commit, while the star witness, prosecutor, and judge was Jenna. I felt completely powerless. It was my word against her tears. And I knew who always won that fight. I paced my apartment for hours, replaying everything. How could I prove it? How do you fight a lie that's wrapped in so much emotion? Then, late one night, it happened. I was just trying to distract myself by cleaning out old files on my phone. I opened my message history with Jenna, fully intending to just delete the whole thread and block her. And then I saw it. My heart literally stopped. It was a message from 3 weeks earlier before my phone call with her. She'd been complaining about something else entirely, and in the middle of her rant, she wrote, "Honestly, Mom is driving me crazy. She's so stubborn. It's getting to the point where we might need to think about getting her some professional help, maybe even a home because she's gonna end up hurting herself. I read it once, twice, a third time. It was right there in black and white with a timestamp. The exact monstrous lie she pinned on me was her own thought first. She hadn't just twisted my words. She'd taken her own cold, ugly idea and put my name on it. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was premeditated character assassination. A jolt of pure adrenaline hit me. This was it. This was the proof. But as my thumb hovered over the send button to a new family group chat, I stopped. Blasting it out would just create chaos. She would claim I faked it, that I hacked her, that the screenshot was manipulated, which is easy enough to do. She would cry and scream and make herself the victim again. No, that would be playing her game. This wasn't about petty revenge. This was about accountability. I didn't need to start a fire. I just needed to hold up a mirror. And I knew the perfect moment was coming. The annual family fall dinner was that Saturday. Everyone would be there. Jenna, my aunt, the whole family. I knew Jenna. She couldn't resist an audience. She would try to cement her victim status in front of everyone. She would put on a show, and when she did, I'd be ready. I saved the screenshot. This had to be clean. A public checkmate. For the first time in days, I felt a cold, hard resolve. Saturday couldn't come soon enough. The air at my aunt's house was so cold you could see your breath. The moment I walked in, I felt eyes on me. My aunt was pure ice. And across the room, Jenna was already working, dabbing a non-existent tear while talking to our grandmother. She was playing the part of the devoted, worried daughter perfectly. Dinner was torture. The clinking of forks and knives was deafening. I just ate my food and waited. I knew it wouldn't be long. Sure enough, as dessert was served, Jenna cleared her throat. "I know things have been tense," she began, her voice already cracking. "And my heart is just breaking over it. I feel like I'm in the middle of this awful misunderstanding." She looked right at me, eyes glistening. "David," she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy, "I know you're just worried about Mom, but the way you talked about her, about wanting to put her away, it was just so hurtful." There it was, the main event, gaslighting me in front of the whole family. My aunt looked at her daughter with pure love, then shot me a look of pure disappointment. Jenna pressed on, tears now actually falling. "I never wanted to hurt you by telling Mom, but I had to protect her. I don't understand why you're making me out to be the bad guy." I let her finish. I let the silence hang in the air. Then I calmly put my napkin down. "Jenna," I said, my voice steady, "are you absolutely sure that's how it happened? Are you telling this entire family that a thought like that, about a home, has never ever crossed your mind?" She was thrown off by my calmness but recovered. "Yes, I am certain. I would never think something so horrible. I don't know why you're attacking me," she cried. "Okay," I said softly. Slowly, I reached into my pocket and took out my phone. The entire table went silent. Jenna's tears stopped mid-fall. She knew this wasn't in her script. "That's interesting," I said, still quiet, "because I seem to have a message here, from you, from 3 weeks ago." I didn't blast it to everyone. I just stood up, walked over, and held the phone out in front of my aunt. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched my aunt lean in. I watched her face shift from confusion to shock to a deep, gut-wrenching understanding. She looked up from the phone, her face pale. She looked at me, and for the first time in weeks, she really saw me. Then she turned her gaze to Jenna, and I watched Jenna's mask completely shatter. The tears vanished. The wounded doe look was gone, replaced by the cornered glare of a predator. She wasn't sad. She was caught. The first word spoken was my Aunt S, a whispered, "Jenna?" Jenna didn't answer her. Her eyes were locked on me, full of pure hatred. The show was over. "You saved that?" she hissed, her voice low. "You were waiting to ambush me." I just looked at her, saying nothing. She shot up from her chair. "You did this to embarrass me," she yelled to the whole table. "You wanted to turn my own mother against me. This is sick. You've ruined everything." It was a masterclass in blame shifting. In her mind, the crime wasn't the lie. The crime was me proving it. I wasn't the victim of her deception. She was the victim of my truth. The family's reaction was pure chaos. My uncle, Jenna's dad, just looked bewildered. A few cousins gave me a look of newfound respect, a silent nod acknowledging the hell I'd been living. But others reacted just as you'd expect in a dysfunctional family system. One aunt wrung her hands. "David, maybe this wasn't the way," she said nervously. "To bring this out in front of everyone, it's just causing more pain." They weren't defending Jenna, but they were condemning me. For them, the fake peace was better than the messy truth. They saw accountability not as a solution, but as a problem. Through it all, my aunt, Jenna's mother, was eerily quiet. She just stared at her daughter, her face a mask of dawning horror. All those years of defending her angel, it was all crumbling. The spell was broken. "We'll talk about this at home," my aunt finally said, her voice completely flat. That was the kill shot. Not yelling, but a cold dismissal. Jenna knew it. She let out a frustrated scream, grabbed her purse, and stormed out, slamming the door. The dinner was over. People quietly shuffled out. I was left in the dining room with my aunt. She finally looked at me, her eyes full of shame and regret. I need some time," she said softly. I just nodded. I had done my part. The rest wasn't my mess to clean up. A few days later, my aunt called. "David," she started, her voice heavy. "I am so sorry." It was a real apology. Unconditional. "I'm sorry for not believing you. I'm sorry for not seeing what was right in front of my face for so long. I was so busy protecting her, I didn't realize I was enabling her." We talked for over an hour, and for the first time it felt like we were building a real relationship based on truth. My relationship with Jenna is over. I didn't block her or yell at her. I just stopped. I created a boundary not of anger, but of self-preservation. She has tried to spin new stories to other family members about my cruel, calculated attack. But her power is gone. The screenshot disarmed her. Without her ability to control the story, she's just left with the truth of what she did. Looking back, I thought I wanted revenge, but I realize now it was about accountability. The screenshot wasn't a weapon I used to hurt her. It was a mirror I held up. The person who embarrassed her, who destroyed her credibility, was herself. The pain she felt was just the consequence of her own actions. I learned that manipulation only works in the dark, in the quiet agreement to not rock the boat. Jenna's system worked for years because it was never challenged with undeniable facts. The moment it was, the whole rotten thing fell apart. That discomfort my other relatives felt, that was the pain of a broken system being forced to look at itself. It's the pain that comes before healing. I can't control if Jenna ever changes or how the rest of my family moves on, but I can control my own life. I will no longer be the villain, so someone else can be the victim. I will no longer set myself on fire to keep others warm. Detonating that truth bomb in the middle of my family was messy and uncomfortable, but it was also liberating. It cleared the air, and in the quiet that followed, for the first time in a long time, I can finally breathe. It's an impossible situation when you have to be the one to bring a hard truth to light in your own family. If you've ever dealt with the manipulator or been the family scapegoat, I'd genuinely love to hear about your experience in the comments. Your stories matter. And if this story resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing for more. Thanks for listening.